We have 10 new appearances coming for the Clone Wars reinforcements in Battlefront 2. There's also a number of UI customization options and more, all dropping in an update this week, for which we just got the release notes. Welcome back to the Star Bazaar, and to another Battlefront update. In this one, we're going to be going over the release notes for the December 5th update, which is dropping later on this week. In today's video, we're going to go over these release notes and check out the new appearances for the reinforcements. If you're new to the channel and you want to stay up to date with both Battlefront 2 and Jedi Fallen Order, consider subscribing and joining us for more videos like this.
Do it.
We're going to get started, and we're going to jump right into the highlight of this update, which is the 10 new appearances for the reinforcements. In total, there are 3 appearances for the ARC Trooper, 4 for the BX Commando droid, 2 for the Clone Commando, and 1 for the Droideka. All of the appearances will be classed as rare and will be available for 20,000 credits or 500 crystals. The only exception is one appearance for the BX Commando droid, which we'll get into later, and that will be a common skin, available for 5,000 credits or 150 crystals. If you want to buy all of these skins using just credits, the total amount you'll spend is 185,000 credits. Alternatively, you could use crystals instead, and the grand total of crystals you'd be spending is 4,650 to get all the skins. Now let's take a look at these new appearances. The upcoming ARC Trooper appearances will be the black and green Lambent Seeker, the blue and gray Cobalt Hero, and my personal favorite, the fearsome looking black and yellow Umbara Operative. If you're a fan of the Clone Wars TV show, that last name might sound familiar, as the Umbara arc is one of the most popular among fans of that show. It seems a lot of these reinforcement appearances were in fact inspired by the TV show, so let's move on and check out some more. The BX Commando droids were featured prominently in that show, and they will be getting a host of new appearances too. First up is the Captain, who were deployed as part of any substantial droid operation. Then we have the Citadel appearance, which is based off the BX Commandos who oversaw the prison on Lola Sayu, which there was an episode of the Clone Wars for. The BX is also getting a diplomat appearance, as well as a training look, which stems from the cloning facilities on Kamino. As mentioned before, these will all be rare skins, with the exception of the BX Commando Captain skin. That's the only skin out of this entire bunch which is classified as common and will be purchasable for 5,000 credits. Besides the ARC Trooper and BX Commando droids, the Clone Commando is also getting 2 new appearances. The Urban Fighter appearance contains a green and orange pattern, whereas Clone Commandos wearing the Jungle Striker appearance take covert operations to the next level, in a very cool looking dark camo. The last reinforcement appearance of this bunch is for the Droideka, and while we don't have a picture of it just yet, it is based on the training droids of Kamino. This is a fantastic bunch of new appearances for our reinforcements, and this should keep players grinding for a little bit to try to unlock every single one. Longtime players who have a lot of credits built up will most likely be able to purchase all of them right away, but a lot of newer players should have fun unlocking all of these new skins. Now let's move on to the actual release notes for the December 5th update, which contains a lot of good stuff. In this update, the team focused a lot on messaging tweaks and adjusting the user interface to make it cleaner for the player. First, the damage reduction icon, that little shield that pops up when you shoot or attack an enemy target that has damage protection, that will now be smaller and less obstructive. Also, depending on how far away your target is from you, it will also change in opacity, meaning how transparent it is. You will also now have the option to turn it off entirely from the settings menu. Next, the kill messaging has also seen some changes. To avoid over-messaging in the critical area above the crosshair, the kill message has been moved down below the crosshair, and they've also included an on-off toggle for the kill message in the options. There's a nice consistency change for the weapon heat bar as well, which has been moved to the same position as the stamina bar on the Lightsaber heroes. And lastly, the player bar, which displays the player's health, XP, and shield if they have a shield active, has been redesigned. The health bar for both players and vehicles is now thinner, and the XP and shield bars are both thinner as well, with the shield bar now appearing as a light blue color. The last UI change listed here is a new naming system for the command posts in both Capital Supremacy and Instant Action, which have all been given names that will be shown during the contextual spawning screen and when the HUD icon is in focus. So by the sound of that, it sounds like the CPs will no longer just be named A, B, C, D, and E, but will have legitimate names. Most likely names that will change based on the map that you're on. With the new appearances and the quality of life features out of the way, let's now check out some of these hero changes. Some of the heroes and villains got some really nice buffs and tweaks that have been needed for a while now. We're going to go right down the list, starting with Darth Maul. Maul had an issue where the deflected blaster bolts from his spin attack would not damage enemies, and that has now been fixed. Next, Kylo Ren has had an ability crosshair added for his Frenzy ability, which should help you target enemies a little bit better using it. Next, we have Boba Fett, who got some really nice changes, a lot of which were inspired by community feedback after his recent nerf. First, his ability active time for the rocket barrage has been reduced, and the fire rate of those rockets has been increased, so the ability will take shorter to complete and the rockets will come out faster. This was definitely community inspired, since a lot of players had some rather negative things to say about Boba Fett after his most recent change. Besides his rocket barrage though, his concussion rocket ability description has been updated for accuracy. It now says, Boba Fett fires a single concussion rocket, dazing enemies caught in the blast. Dazed heroes using lightsabers cannot follow their target while performing their lightsaber attacks. That might be a piece of new information to a lot of players. It seems like the concussion rocket cancels out lightsaber lock-ons, so that's really good to know about Boba Fett. After Boba, we have Darth Vader, and it says here, based on community feedback, we have added a 25% damage reduction during Darth Vader's choke ability. The choke can now also only be activated when targeting an enemy. Players can now see the number of enemies targeted by the ability in the bottom right corner. These changes are great for Vader, since his choke did leave him pretty vulnerable after pulling it off on somebody. Next up, we have the other asthmatic cyborg, General Grievous, who has a change to his Sith-trained star card. The stamina reduction of that card is now being dropped to 25% instead of the original 40%. A much needed change for Grievous, as that star card was absolutely killing his stamina. Luke Skywalker is next, and he also gets a star card change, specifically to his Intensify star card. The bonus damage values he gets from Intensify is changing, from the original 20, 30, 40, and 50 to now 18, 24, 30, and 36. So Luke's Intensify is finally getting the much needed nerf. That's good. Emperor Palpatine is next, and he's got some pretty intense changes. First, the Emperor will no longer be able to maintain a basic attack while using any of his abilities. He's also had an issue fixed that would cause the blinded animation of enemies to be on a continuous loop once affected by his Dark Aura ability. Palpatine's Chain Lightning has also had an ability crosshair added, very similar to Kylo Ren's Frenzy. Next, Bounty Hunter Bosque has had that issue fixed where he would take damage after landing from a jump. And then we have Captain Phasma, with a couple of good changes. First, fixed an issue where Captain Phasma could detonate the First Order sentry droid while picking it up without a cooldown requirement. Next, increased the gap between the second and third strike of staff strikes, allowing the staff strikes combo to be completed easier. And there's also been an issue fixed where Captain Phasma's rifle zoom would occasionally not highlight enemies. There's also been a visual clipping issue at the end of Captain Phasma's Not Easy emote, and they've fixed that too. Han Solo has two changes. First, he can now dodge while the sharpshooter ability is active. That's really good. And there was also an issue where he could occasionally throw more than one grenade. This should no longer happen. Obi-Wan Kenobi has had an issue fixed where the all-out push would not affect enemies if the player was attacked while activating it. That's good. And Lando Calrissian is next. Lando can now dodge while the Sharp Shot ability is active, just like Han Solo and Sharpshooter. That's very good. Lando's Smoke Grenade ability description has been updated for accuracy. It now says, Lando Calrissian throws a smoke grenade which obscures the vision of his enemies, but not of his Night Sniper's thermal scope. Villains using lightsabers inside the smoke area cannot follow their target while performing their lightsaber attacks. So just like Boba Fett's concussion missile, in case you didn't know, Lando's smoke cancels out lightsaber lock-ons. Definitely use that to your advantage. But the last fix that Lando has was a visual issue where the thermal scope from his X8 Night Sniper would occasionally not highlight enemies. Leia Organa doesn't get a buff or a nerf, but she does get an updated description to her flash grenade ability. It now says, Leia throws a flash grenade which detonates on impact, blinding and confusing enemies in the blast area. Blinded villains using lightsabers cannot follow their target while performing their lightsaber attacks. So just like Boba and now Lando, Leia's flash grenade cancels out lightsaber lock-ons. Iden Versio fixed an issue that would cause increased rifle recoil during Iden's pulse cannon while crouching, and also fixed an issue where Iden's weapon would still be overheating during super success cooling when the cooled blaster star card was equipped. Count Dooku. Count Dooku's expose weakness ability will now remove any active extra health on the target, which is really good. Fixed a visual clipping issue in the way Count Dooku holds his lightsaber, and added UI elements to show when Count Dooku has a critical strike available while the initiative star card is equipped. That's very good, he was definitely missing that indicator. And lastly, for hero changes, Finn has had a visual asset clipping issue fixed at the end of his I Can Do This emote. Besides all these hero changes, the quality of life improvements, and the new appearances, a bunch of general and miscellaneous changes are also going into this update, including a fix for the officer who can now no longer be affected by his own flash grenade, a fix to the AT-ST's anti-vehicle missile which now does less direct damage, and a fix to the specialist's repulsor cannon which should now knock enemies over every single time. There are other smaller unit, map, and game mode changes listed on the community transmission. If you want to see all of those minor changes for yourself, I'll leave the transmission linked in the description down below. But with that, those are the release notes for the December 5th update, which is dropping in just a couple of days. We're getting all of this on December 5th, and then a couple of weeks after that, we're expecting the second December update, which will introduce Episode 9, Rise of Skywalker content into Battlefront 2. December is usually a slow month for video games, and Battlefront 2 is normally no exception, but this year is kind of an outlier. There is a lot of new content coming this winter, and we'll be here to cover it all at the Star Bazaar, so if you're new, once again, consider subscribing, and don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed today's coverage. But with that, that's actually going to bring this video to an end. I appreciate you all stopping by the Bazaar and checking out the news. I'll see you all out on the battlefront. Peace.